Hi friends, welcome to Imogen X Stitch. My name is Imogen. My pronouns are they, she. You can also find me on Instagram as Imogen X Stitch. This is a floss tube number 1, so I hope that you are strapped in for potential chaos because I don't feel ready. But I also feel like that's my journey right now, so I'm really glad that you are here with me on that journey. The whole point of these videos for me is to connect with you. And a big part of that for me is making sure that anything I put out there is inclusive and accessible. So if you ever have feedback on those topics, for me, I would welcome that conversation and thank you in advance for the emotional labor that goes into those conversations. So I could introduce myself a little bit, but I also feel like you're not going to hear a word I say until we talk about this lovely thing behind me. So I kind of just want to pretend like we already know each other and just get into the stitching. Sound good? Um, so this is the wonderful Modern Folk Embroideries Stitch Along from 2021, Fruits of Plenty. This is what the model looks like. But one of the things that I really, really love about Jacob at Modern Folk Embroidery is that he really empowers people to make their own choices with things like floss colors. So he, mocks up the model with these colors, but tells you to use whatever you want, which I think is great. I think that applies to all cross stitch, but to have it explicitly stated by a designer, I think is really empowering to people. So as soon as I heard Jacob talking about the fact that this was going to use negative space, I knew that I wanted the fabric to do most of the work. And so I picked this fabric, which is a 40 count, just a Zweigart. It's not hand dyed or anything. It's just a 40 count Zweigart in the colorway Lagoon. And I stitched this obviously using black and white thread. I did use Sulky 12 weight thread, which comes on these spools. So this is the king size, which I switched to after going through, I think, one of the normal petites, and I still have plenty of thread left. But stitching with the Sulky 12 weight floss on this 40 count fabric was fine. The weave was loose enough that it was never a struggle to get my needle through or anything like that. It was easy peasy, easy to stitch, no problem. It might be tougher on a different 40 count. 12 weight might be too much. The stitches are very fluffy. They're very plump on this piece. It has a lot of texture, which I personally really enjoy. However, I stitched using a Q-snap, and when the Sulky thread was put under the clamp of the Q-snap, they really got compressed, and they did not plump back up like DMC has for me in the past. I tried literally everything to get them to plump back up, and they just still look crushed. You can't tell from here. It's a little better now that it's been framed, but the very, very top, those stitches are way more compressed than the rest. And so that sent me on quite the experience to finish this project without smashing any of the other stitches. So I ended up using a 17 by 20 Q-snap, which I don't even know if it's going to fit in the camera. This is what I was stitching on, but vertical, so this way. So I had this in my Lowry. I'm going to give you I wanted to give you a visual, but without it fitting in the camera. Let's see. Is that better? So I had this in my Lowry, okay, and it's fine. The Lowry can hold it, although it is a little bit heavy, so the clamp is precarious, right? So I'm stitching. But then when I needed to get to the back, I couldn't do the rotate on the Lowry because the balance, the clamp would lose it. It would fall out. It was terrible. And so what I ended up doing was stitching. And then when I needed to get to the back, I'd, swing it out with the Lowry arm, stand up, walk around to the back of this, squat down, reach up above me to end my threads, stand back up, walk back around, sit down, swing this back. It was a lot. I went through a lot for this. But isn't it beautiful? I did make a couple changes, so let's take it off the wall so I can show you a little bit more closely. Isn't she great? Oh man. Okay. So in February section, that center part, it is charted as a heart. I am such an extreme emo kid that I don't really enjoy hearts usually. So I found this pattern also by Modern Folk Embroidery. It's one of the Biscornu patterns, and I edited it a little bit to fit into this space. But I was really happy with how that turned out because it has those overlapping lines like the rest of this pattern does, so I thought it fit in really well. Um, for the most part, I did this one as charted, which is very out of character for me. So Jacob gave us some wonderful options for that middle house. I chose the birdhouse, which I think was maybe the most stitches because that is almost full coverage. So that was a lot, but totally worth it. The little lanterns on the side here, I did chart. Those were hearts, and again, I can't abide the Valentine hearts. But I like my little lanterns. I used my grandmother's initials here. And then, I mean, we gotta talk about him. This is Cranky Owl. I didn't make any edits to him. He doesn't belong in this pattern, but I just took him wholesale out of Modern Folk Embroidery's Dark Cross Cranky Owl, and he fits perfectly in this space with no edits. I just plopped him in there. And I love him because he sort of fits because he's a bird like all the others, but his style doesn't really fit, and also like his attitude doesn't really fit, and I love that. I love him. And then my other change was this. This was the October medallion. These little birds had plenty of space above their heads to wear little hats, and so one of them is wearing a witch hat, and the other one looks like he could be in a barbershop quartet. Apparently, one of my things that I just can't resist are non-human things wearing tiny hats. I don't know what that's about. It started like last year, but animals in hats, not inanimate objects in hats. I just can't resist. Yeah, so this is my Modern Folk Embroidery Fruit of Plenty stitch along from 2021. See, so I guess you can see a little bit there in that upper corner how those stitches are just, they look different than the others. And that's from getting squished in my Q-snap. So, RIP. Okay, hydration reminder. Go drink some water. Okay. Now that we've talked about this, maybe I should introduce myself a little bit. I started stitching when I was 5 years old, so I've been stitching for over 30 years now, fairly consistently with a few lulls and breaks like everybody else. Yeah, and stitching has been really important to me. It's really important to my mental health, which is something that I think we could talk more about on FlossTube. But also that's probably not a first date topic, so I'm not going to get too much into it in this video, but I would like to talk more about that on this channel if that's something y'all are interested in. I'm also very woo-woo, witchy, metaphysical, all of that. So that definitely comes into my stitching, and it's going to come into this channel. I'm also a very cerebral person. I like to think about things. I think things to death. And so one of the things that I really love about cross stitch is all the symbolism in it. So, I mean, everything we do in cross stitch is symbolism. Everything. And the really cool thing about symbolism is that context matters. So the context of the creator, the context of the viewer, the person perceiving the art, the person stitching it, the person who designed it, however long ago that was, all of that matters. And then within a piece itself, the context matters. So what motifs are in the piece? Where are they? Where are they in relation to one another? What colors are they? If you take any of those, a single motif out of a piece and put it in another piece, cranky owl, it can mean something entirely different. And I love that. I think that's fascinating and really fun. Yeah, so I feel like I was going somewhere with that, but I don't know where. So, okay. I'm a severe introvert and I don't like small talk, and so I don't want to do any of those sort of hashtag intro things. If you do have questions, though, just drop them in the comments and we can talk through them in future videos because that will feel more natural to me. So, should we talk about whips? How long are we into this video and I haven't even showed you a single whip? I think it's fair, though, right? We needed to talk about her. That, yes. Okay. So, my first whip that I'm working on right now is something that is easy to work on. So it's sort of a travel project, sort of a I need a mental break project. This is by Sassy Stitch Boutique on Etsy. This is called I Have Asked You Thrice. This is a reference to Schitt's Creek. If you don't know Schitt's Creek, go watch it. It will make you happier than before you watched it. It is just it's so good. And so I am stitching mine on a 32 count Zweigart Azure Blue. I'm not taking this out of the Q-Snap for you, sorry. And so I'm leaving the model up so we can look at them because the shine in his hair is actually charted as white, but it's stitched on a white fabric. So for now, I'm just leaving those blank, and I haven't decided if I'm going to need to stitch them or if they should be left just open as fabric. Yeah, so I am stitching this with Aurifil 12 weight floss. So similar to Sulky where it's 12 weight floss, but it's just a different brand Aurifil. So this is what their bigger spools look like. That is how you spell Aurifil. I love this thread. I love it so much. I love it more than Sulky. Bite me. It's way more expensive than Sulky, but it's worth it. Next. Oh, I still have that up, don't I? That's fun. That's been up the whole time. Oh well, newbie. So the next thing that I am working on is Elegant Lace by Works by ABC. And this is what the model looks like. Focus. How much does that look like lace? Right? It's like phenomenal. So she gets this effect by combining a couple different techniques. First, it's half stitch and full cross stitch. So the sections that look a little more dainty and light, those are half crosses only. We're using one strand of regular DMC thread. The thicker looking stitches here though are full cross, but they're also using DMC floche thread, which I had never heard of before. But now that I had it special ordered by my LNS, which, all right, we're going on a tangent. So I live in Portland, Oregon. Acorns and Threads is my LNS. I actually work there on some Saturdays. So if you want to say hi, it's a freaking dream job, y'all. Working in an LNS. Yes. Anyway, so I had Acorns and Threads order me the floche thread because I didn't know where to source it. So if you also don't know where to source it, call your LNS. If you don't have an LNS, call Acorns. It doesn't matter where you are, they will ship to you. So DMC floche is significantly thicker than regular DMC six-stranded cotton. DMC floche comes as like a hank, but you don't separate the strands. That one strand of DMC floche though it's very comparable to two strands of DMC, regular DMC. And I know that we say that about 12 weight floss, particularly people say that about Sulky, that it's similar to using two strands of DMC or 1.5 strands of DMC. I don't really find that is true because while it is a thicker thread, it's also I don't know, if you have two strands lying next to each other, they lay flat, right? And the sulky, it's one strand that's thicker, and so it's sort of like taller, right? Like it doesn't like pool out. Wow. Am I leaving this in because this is floss tube number one, or am I editing this out? That's really interesting for you. So the DMC Floche, because it's not as tightly spun, it does sort of pool out. Like the coverage feels better to me than particularly sulky 12 weight. Anyway, all of that to say, I freaking love DMC Floche. I love it. I want every color that DMC makes in Floche. I want it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so I haven't even shown you my whip. I'm great at this. If you want to just like see my projects, go follow me on Instagram if you don't want to listen to all of this because like I said, I'm a thinker. Okay, so this is what I have for Elegant Lace. I did it on a similar fabric as the model, not the exact called for, woo, but very similar. But I did use black floss because I'm a light goth emo kid. So I'm trucking along on this and making really good progress. I don't want it to end. I love it. It's so, I don't want to have to hold it. So I took a picture. There we go. Um, yeah, so I mean, here's the model again, stitched in white, and then there is mine stitched in black. My fabric is by Fabrics by Stephanie. It's called Simply Sage, and that is 36 count linen. Next up, I'm still a little bit in shock that I started this project. One of my lulls of cross stitching came because of a Teresa Wentzler chart that I was stitching. It was the castle, if you're curious. I did finish it. I do have it. And I haven't really been back to a big Teresa Wentzler since, and it's been about a decade since I finished that. But apparently the time is now because I started Fantasy Triptych. Focus. So I'm actually going to make changes to this Teresa Wentzler chart. I haven't decided yet. So actually here, so let me show you the whip and then we can talk about my potential changes. So this is where I am. I'm just working on the castle right now because I'm not making any alterations to the castle. So it's a Teresa Wentzler, so it's all blended floss. There's partial stitches or fractional stitches. There's confetti galore. It's a Teresa Wentzler. My fabric is by Fibrilicious Yummy Fibers. It's a 32 count Lugana in the colorway Once in a Blue Moon. And you might be thinking, Imogen, that blue-gray fabric and that bronze Archie border, really? And my answer is no, you're right. So my plan is to actually convert the gold, at least in the border, to be more of like a gray. I'm thinking maybe it'll look like stone. Realistically, it's probably going to be very similar to what these rooftops look like on this castle. So I'm hoping it's not. I'm hoping I can do it, right? I can do it. The other changes that I haven't quite decided on are I want to do something with their race and genders. So like, I might just do a skin tone conversion on them, which is, I mean, that's ambitious on a Teresa Wentzler, but it's important because hashtag diversity and representation sell. And I was thinking about just maybe swapping their heads. So The figure on the horse has the more traditionally feminine features and like maybe add the hair. So I don't know yet. It might be it's a reach. It's a stretch. But I think I can do it. Okay, I'll stop looking at that. Ooh, okay, so next I have a new start, and this is where some of my like witchy woo woo comes in. I love this. I love this piece. I love it so much. Okay, so this is by The Primitive Hare. It's called Just a Phase. So it has all the moon phases across the top. It says it's just a phase. The moon made me do it. I love it for so many reasons. I love wordplay. I love puns. That's just on the surface. I love that. Um, but I also, part of my sort of spiritual journey at the moment is connecting more with the moon and aspects of the moon. And so I'm using this to support that. I have a black cat. I love black cats. I just love this piece. So here's my whip. I just started this last night, so it's a little baby whip. I did add the apostrophe for grammar. And then I have only stitched the one moon because my plan for this is to stitch each of those moon phases on the day that the moon is in that phase. So actually today, the day that I'm filming this, the moon is in a new moon. And so I stitched that this morning. I am using the called for black, which I didn't intend to do that. It just happened. So that is Witching Hour by Gentle Art. My fabric is Flagstone by Seraphim. This is a 36 count linen. I feel like I sort of jumbled like how important this piece is to me, but whatever. We'll talk about it next time. And then last, I think this is, oh, well, it's almost last. This is by Bendy Stitchy, my girl Michelle, Lady Man. So this is what the model looks like. If you haven't seen this before, this is actually a reproduction. Michelle found a historical sampler, this stitched in a thrift shop, and so this is a reproduction. I'm quite the lady man. Which, same. So I am stitching this on another Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers 32 count Lugana. This one is a very periwinter. This was from this January's fabric of the month. But I'm stitching this one over one. So it is teeny, teeny, tiny. And I am changing the colors of these butterflies a little bit to make them just extra gay. Because we say gay. Yeah, I love that. I love that chart. There is a stitch along on Instagram. So if you are stitching that, add that hashtag. And then if you are on Instagram and you follow me on Instagram, you're like, Imogen, why haven't you talked about your Alice? Because I am stitching Owl Forest Embroideries Alice in Wonderland, which was a stitch along that all of the pieces have been released now. I actually did not grab that one, and I don't want to. It's a little bit in timeout. It's been a little bit in timeout because partly the ideas just haven't come, partly I miscounted and had to frog a bunch, so it's just been in timeout. So, but here's a picture of where I was last. So, if you are familiar with the Owl Forest, Alice in Wonderland, this might look vaguely familiar. I am doing a massive conversion on this one. So I don't really know what to call this conversion. I've sort of been calling it Goth Alice, even though it's more kind of emo light goth like I am than full on like goth, I guess. Back it up. So I didn't intend to get into this. I actually started this on a like mint green fabric using pine by Gentle Arts. I stitched the arch in the center, I stitched the side things, and then Alice Falling came out. And I was on Zoom and I was talking to two of my stitchy friends, and one of us said, "Have you seen Alice?" And all three of us at the same time said, "Yes, she's so creepy." Except all three of us said it in a totally different tone of voice. So one was like uncertain, not happy about it, like, "Oh, she's creepy." But I was like, "Yeah, she's creepy," like super into it. Because if you've seen particularly the three color version, she's creepy, and I was here for it. And that sort of spawned this whole creepy take on it. Um, the main piece of inspiration was the white rabbit in that red jacket. Made me think of Panic at the Disco and our like original first hit, Brendan Urie in that red jacket in that music video. And so I gave this white rabbit a top hat. Um, I think I added the vest and the bow tie. Um, Definitely gave him some eyeliner, and I tried to give him some emo bangs. Um, yeah, I he's my favorite part of this for sure. Um, and yeah, so it's just I'm sorry, I'm struggling to talk about this one because it's been in timeout for so long. For me for so long. I did frog where it says oof off by one row. So the skull planter and the three suit symbols and the border, those are all off by one. They're one too high. So I did frog all of those, but I haven't restitched them yet. And I don't have any of the other pieces redesigned yet. I haven't done any of the other conversions. I have some ideas, but I've just really fallen out of the habit, and I should pick this one back up. So yeah, that's all I have stitching wise. But like I said at the beginning, I am very into tarot reading right now, and so I want to pull a card for the collective before we say goodbye. Um, if you're not here for that, thanks for coming. But for cadence wise, I'm sort of thinking I would like to tie these videos in with my intention surrounding the moon. So today is the new moon. I would like to say that my next video will be on the full moon. So that would be about 2 weeks every, moon cycle. I think that would be neat, but we will see. And so, yeah, I'm shuffling my deck right now. I just kind of want to see if the tarot has any thoughts or wisdom for us as a collective FlossTube community for the next, couple of weeks. Not gonna lie, my first reaction was that I don't want to show this card on my floss tube. Then I almost wanted to pick another one or edit, but I'm not gonna do that. This is what I pulled. It pulled the Lovers. So I am using an indie tarot deck called This Might Hurt. And what I love about this deck is that it's mostly the traditional images and symbolism, but it takes out the medieval context and puts it into a contemporary context, and it incorporates a lot of diversity. So it has people of different races, people of different genders, where gender is not important to the symbolism, and people with disabilities. It's a really, really great deck. And so the card that I pulled for us for the next couple of weeks is the Lovers, which is great for us. It's not necessarily about romance or romantic relationships. It's also just about connection and duality and choosing to either move forward in love or backward in fear. And so for me, this is saying whoever is watching this that wants to start a FlossTube channel, do it. Do it right now. Because relationships are waiting for you and support is waiting for you. So move forward in love. I love that for us. That's a lovely note to end on. So, thank you for watching this. Feel free to connect with me, leave a comment down below, follow me on Instagram. The whole point of this is that I want community. I want to get to know you. So, thanks. See you in a couple weeks. Bye.